guys, our friends, and welcome back to the Banter Show. And I'm joined with my good friend over here.
I'm just lost at the moment. I'm trying to find my way.
He's trying to
back
find
to
his
Newry.
way. He's trying to get back to Newry.
You're welcome to my cave.
We've got the one, the only, my mate, Rowan Hand, my good friend. Rowan, I missed you. Welcome back to the Banter Show. How are you, buddy?
I missed the Banter Show. I'm very, very well. If you exclude the fact that I'm dying and I'm going to die in about 30 years' time.
Only 30?
Yeah,
so
I think I've given myself that.
So time's not on your side. You've got 30 years left.
But we don't have
Friends,
30.
give him a help out, please.
Yeah, definitely riser for Rowan.
Riser for Rowan Hand, the main man.
But
Rowan.
I'm sort of joking there because I discovered 3 years ago I had prostate cancer.
Right.
But got it in time.
Wow.
And was careful. By good watching over the 3 years, I'm now finalising a course of external radiotherapy.
Right.
Which is going to nuke the bad little boy.
Nuke it.
Nuke that tumour.
Now, I remember talking to you in the old destination Newry.
Yeah.
And you were taking oil at that stage.
I was taking stuff with pumpkin seed oil.
Pumpkin seed oil. Now,
So,
were you diagnosed at that time?
Oh yeah. I was
Oh.
diagnosed 3 years ago.
My goodness.
But I mean, I got to thinking the pumpkin seed oil was merely disguising the symptoms, that really we needed to keep it under very, very active surveillance. And we did for 3 years. My team, my medical people, we when I say kept it under surveillance, we're now 4 biopsies further down the road,
Wow.
where 2 MRI scans and 1 full body isotopic bone scan.
Wow.
And that's a frightening boy.
That sounds frightening, Rowan, I have to say.
Full body bone scan, nothing can hide. If there's something in there, it's going to find it.
Wow.
Thanks be to God, it came back clear. So we're glad about that.
One of your favourite words, namaste.
Namaste is a beautiful word, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lovely word because it means that the God in me respects the God in you. So whether there is a God or not doesn't really matter. I respect you. And the other one is this here, respect. Give me your fist.
Respect.
What about that? Hey!
He's on the ball, this Riser.
Oh, I tell you, it's good. It's
Well,
good.
I've missed the banter with you, Rowan. I really have.
I'm Mr. Two. I'm
Yeah.
doing no broadcasting.
You're doing no
I'm just
broadcasting.
hammering away here, writing and doing things, and my stuff in the paper. I'm doing stuff, my books. All of that's occurring. You know, it's
Excellent,
happening.
excellent. Well, you're still broadcasting then. On paper, you're broadcasting.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
paper, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Well, this is the first broadcast this man's had, and I'm delighted because I've missed the banter with you. I really did, and I know you
Well,
went to Spain. I was in County London.
Yeah.
We've separated, and now we're just kind of jailed. We'll come back
Well, it's
again.
good. I'm glad to see you here. And the business of Spain, we went down to Spain to settle there in the south of Spain. The intention was that I'd be doing a morning bulletin from the Costa. You can do a bulletin from anywhere in the world these
blog
days.
or anything.
Anything.
Yeah.
But that dried up, and suddenly I was becoming a tourist
Oh,
without the money to be a tourist. So
Well.
I couldn't be in Spain as a tourist, and I came back here. And I live on my pensions, and that's it. Very little, just a couple of pensions, and my writing.
but sure, what do you need to survive on?
Very, very little I've discovered, because I think the word austerity started to gain prominence when Greece got into difficulty in the Republic of Ireland. People thought we have to implement a policy of austerity. And people would sometimes say, oh, that's terrible. But no, being austere is good.
Yeah.
When you cut things to the bone, you get a certain pleasure in making things work, where you know that you're not eating 2 chickens where half a chicken or quarter a chicken will do you. And if you've got 2 coats, you only need 1. Give it to somebody who has no coat. Austerity is good. Here's to austerity, I think.
There you go. I'll give austerity a bit of a riser. Riser austerity.
Riser
Lift it up there.
austerity.
Lift it up there.
Riser austerity.
And make us all
riser.
wealthy and healthy
Right.
and all that. And carry on. So, Rowan.
Yeah.
As I say, now you've been. Can we get a look at your book?
Ah,
If
yeah.
it's okay.
Absolutely.
You've been working on this book quite a while.
This book is 10 years in the making.
Wow.
It's the story of my travels with the SMA Fathers in Africa and India. And this is the prototype done by Gullion Media. That was the... It's in black and white, at the moment.
Excellent.
And I'm tempted to keep it in black and white.
I like
It's got a kind of distressed African feel to it, and that excites me. India's in here as well. And it's made in the way of the old way of making
Well, it's
soup,
austerity.
stitched.
It's austerity.
Austerity indeed.
Austerity in the book, friends.
That's me with the wee fella, wee Tony. There he is,
God,
in the middle of India. So you
Isn't
have
this
it there.
there's young Tony there? Riser young Tony. He's a great
Riser
lad, isn't
born,
he?
he's a good lad, he is.
Isn't he?
indeed.
He really is. And you've sort of turned this young fella's life around, haven't you?
Well, all I did was I went to India in extraordinary circumstances. I have no idea how the circumstances came about, but I was called to go to India. I went.
Because we were actually talking about, before the camera was rolling, me and Rowan were talking about the book. We were talking about how you got to India. And it's a strange story.
Well, it's a story, if I tell it to you, it'll probably get the men with white coats coming to take me away in a van.
Well, there's one thing about that. I've got the yellow coat for the Banter show, and it overrides all these white coats. Okay.
It's very strange, actually. I was in my Sunday morning radio programme. I was interviewing a woman called Margaret Herdman. Margaret is a Welsh woman. She's in her 80s. Margaret is a medium, a Christian medium. She claims that she can communicate with people who have died and gone ahead. We're talking about it, blah, 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 blah. And she stopped. She said, Rowan, hold on. There's someone communicating with you from the other side.
Now, this is whilst you're on the phone.
I'm on the phone, live telephone interview with Margaret.
Right.
And I thought to myself, wow, it's nonsense. Yeah, I said, I'll play along with this. Played along with it, and I wasn't being disingenuous to her. I was being sincere. I said, okay, Margaret, tell me, what is it? She says, basically, she said, Mother Teresa is on the other side in heaven, and she's reaching out to you, and she's saying, you have to go to India. I had no intention of going to India, none at all. And she said, you'll be safe because she will be there for you. She'll be your rock. So, anyway, we get on with it, and that's the end of it. I forget about it, put it out of my head. Owen Ryan in RTE Nationwide in Cork phoned me, said, Rowan, I want you to go down to Cork and come down to Cork and do an interview about a wee boy in India called Tony. There's a man down here who's raising funds for him. Would you come down, do the interviews, and we'll put it together. And this man was rowing and sailing a boat along the rivers of Ireland in his 80s as well, to raise funds for Tony.
Amazing.
And so we're on the boat, on his boat, and I'm interviewing him. And the phone rings. Hello? It's Tony in India. So we hit the loudspeaker button, and I interviewed Tony. Suddenly we're not talking about Tony, Tony's talking for himself. And at the end of the piece, he said, as I was saying farewell to him, he said, Uncle Rowan, are you coming to India?
That's lovely. I
said, I'm not, I have no intention, I have no reason. Don't worry, he said, that could change.
Wow.
Within a fortnight, Don, the man I did the interview with, Don sent out a round-robin email looking for money to help the lady who was a Westerner, Maureen, who was Tony's mummy, his carer. She needed to leave India for health reasons, and he was trying to raise the ticket. So I went back and said, look, don't worry about it. And I talked to Dennis in Traveller Secrets in Warren Point. We got a ticket for Maureen, and there it was ready for her. Within a couple of days more, he said, Rowan, thank you for the generosity, but we cannot accept it because Maureen can't leave India. There's no one to look after Tony. And I said, well, I'll look after Tony. So off I went to India to look after Tony.
Unbelievable.
Suddenly I'm in India, involved in a search for his passport because he has no passport. And the woman would eventually be leaving India to go to the UK. And she was going to separate. Tony and her were going to be. So we were looking then, see what we could do. Yeah, the woman, allegedly, Teresa told me the man would be waiting for me in India. I'm wheeling Tony up the garden path into SMA House, Society of African Missions, Drummondine. They have an Indian province with Indian men going out across the world. And I'm there, wheeling Tony up, and there's a tall, thin man standing in the corner of the building. And he looks and he says, hello, how are you? You're very welcome. I was glad to be here. He says, you've come for the passport, haven't you? And I said, you're the man in India, aren't you? He says, come and see me after Mass in the morning. everything is possible. There commenced a year and a half of searching in India for Tony's parents, his natural parents, to get his birth documentation, to get his ration book details, and eventually after 3 applications we got his passport. Passport on its own is no good. We wanted a study visa. 2 applications, we got the study visa for Tony, and he's now studying. He's in his 6th year of studying in King's School in Eastleigh in the south east of England.
Wow.
So he's there.
Well done.
So that was an amazing story.
That's
fantastic. What happened there. So in India we met a lot of people who needed things. So there's a man sitting as you're sitting in the Don Guanellan, look it up on the Google thing, rehabilitation centre in Chennai. It's like Gateway under the sun.
Wow.
And we're sitting having a cup of tea. He's the director general of the Don Guanellans. He's an Italian priest. And this old bus comes into the yard, falling apart. And he says, Rowan, that's our bus. This is October. He says, that's our bus. We desperately need a new one. Every time we get a few pounds together, something else comes and takes the pounds. I said, don't you worry, I'll get you the bus for Christmas. I had an idea where I was going to get the bus. I had a clue. So I went on my programme when I got back to Ireland and told the people we needed a bus. We got the £15,000 for the bus.
Wow, way.
And they had their bus for Christmas. A Mahindra, an Indian bus, bought in Chennai and taking the children out around all of it.
Well done. Wow.
So that's the Mother Teresa story. But
you're
you tell me,
you're an amazing character. I love the way you just say, no, don't worry. That little don't worry, but that's very reassuring, you know.
But I think it's important that in big things and in small things, we say to another human being, don't worry. Don't worry. Or we say to another human being, can I help you? Can I help you? And you might get a punch in the gob for it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to take the chance.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the other morning, I didn't get a punch in the gob, but I saw something that was incredible. Going down for my treatment down to the city hospital, cancer centre.
Scary words, isn't it?
Me in a cancer centre, for God's sake, you know.
Yeah.
I'm Mr. Perfect, no way. But suddenly I'm brought down to a certain level.
Wow.
I'm just like everybody else. I can get
You're a
cancer.
human, yeah. You're a human. Yeah.
So, in the 20 to 6 in the morning at the bus station in Newry, I go down at 6 o'clock every morning, I'm waiting. And I look, I'm there on my own, but I'm not. There's a man in an igloo tent, tucked in onto the doorway of the bus station, all the shutters are down, and there he is. He's packing his camp away. He's striking camp. He's putting the thing down, and he has 4 boxes and a big trolley, and he's wheeling it around. So I went up and said, and again it's the old thing, can I help you? Can I help you? He said, no. I said, okay, it's all right. I said, what about breakfast? He said, I'm all right. Yes, that's okay. Now, Sunday morning before that, a man of great decency in Newry had given me, it just came up to me after the 12:15, the Dominican press, to my hand a £5.
Wow.
He says, that's for you, look after that. So I said to the man, how would a £5 suit you? Would it help you at all? No, he says, no, I'm fine, I have to go. So I still hold the £5 that Tony gave me, another Tony, and that'll be there for another day. But that business of reaching out to people in a world full of dog crap, in a world of ISIS and in a world of awful natural disasters, in a world of terribleness, in a world of hurt and distress, in a world of abuse, in a world that's on its knees basically, simply enlisting in what I call the court of kindness, the order of the court of kindness.
There you go.
The riser
I like that. Riser for
the order of the court of
kindness.
kindness. And you too can be a knight of the court of kindness by simply engaging in, some people say it's a random act of kindness. I kind of think let's go beyond random acts of kindness. Let's do planned acts of kindness.
I like that.
Let's plan it and make it happen so that we're actually out there as emissaries, as ambassadors for good in a troubled world.
A bit like the Banter show, because that's what we're all about.
That's exactly what you're about.
That's what we're all about, Rowan. That's why we're here.
Well,
we're talking to a good man and a good friend of mine, top broadcaster, one of the top broadcasters in Ireland, in this country of Ireland.
You're very kind.
This man has worked in the BBC, RTE. He's worked everywhere basically. UTV.
I got a lovely. This Facebook thing I'm getting into.
You're getting into it now, are you?
Oh yeah. I got a lovely message from a former colleague. Now it's 20 years since I left the BBC, and I was the head of radio current affairs in the BBC. And this came through from Stephen Walker of BBC Northern Ireland Today. He says, Rowan, I heard of your illness. I'm so proud of what you're doing to raise men's awareness of it, delighted you're doing it, but I would expect nothing else. I remember with great fondness our time together in radio current affairs. There was never a dull moment. And again, it was about doing the job, but doing it decently. That's the thing, you know. This child, Mulhall, what's her name? That girl the Peruvian girl that drugs mule. McCollum.
Michaela.
Yeah, she served her sentence. They're putting her through it again. You know, they're criticising her. And journalism should say, in my view, I might be wrong here, Michaela, you made... The papers are referring to her not as Michaela McCollum, not as Miss McCollum. They're calling her McCollum. She's a criminal, still. But this is a girl scarcely out of her teenage years, made a mistake, a bad mistake, and she was punished for it. Now, I truly believe if you have journalists talking about her change of hairstyle, red lipstick and matching red toenails, and who the hell does she think she is, that's not good journalism.
No.
You want to find out and give this young woman the opportunity to reach out into the world again and to rebuild. You know, even a person who pushes drugs, and she was not a drug pusher. She wasn't the sort of matriarch of it all.
No, she was
a stupid girl led. And
easily led.
She paid her price. And big, sensible, tough journalists ripping her apart now doesn't work. Not for me. And that, all through my time in the BBC, those were the kind of values I tried to implement. As a fellow said to me a long time ago, Rowan, keep the airwaves productive. Keep them productive, and that's what I like to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to do that, you know.
But it's easy to pick on that young girl. It's easy pickings, Rowan.
It's appalling what they're doing.
The papers are appalling.
Oh.
I think the papers are absolutely the gutter press. Oh. Did you see the other one, that family up in...
yes, and somebody presented at the door of the Mail, was it the Irish Daily Mail?
The Irish Mail, and shame on you, absolute shame. It's disgusting what you've done.
Yeah.
You know, they're not thinking of the people behind, you know, the people who are left behind it. Grieving heavily. I mean, that's heavily grieving.
Yeah,
that's grieving beyond what a normal person could cope with. And then the papers do that then. Anyway,
yeah, no,
bring the papers.
No,
away on you go.
We don't.
Papers should be bundled up and put in the fire.
Well, a lot of them should be indeed. I can tell you, it's far too much of them.
So anyway, on a brighter note, let's
talk bright.
Let's get brighter.
Let's talk bright.
Now, let's talk about this lady here now. This is the lady that, whilst you were on the phone to Margaret in Wales, this lady came across the other side.
Well, allegedly.
It's been alleged.
I can't prove that.
Well,
I'm inclined, and
neither can I. But
watch as I'm struck dead.
The fact is, you told us about it.
Watch as I'm struck dead when I say I don't really believe it, but I don't know. That's all I can say to you. And this is a book of her private writings, and I've come through. You know, when you're an old fellow of 72. By the way, I'm 72 now. I was born 1944. Do you know why I'm 72 and not 71? I'm 72 because
leap year.
No, I take my date of entering this world.
Conception date.
Got you. And that was some night. My mother and father had a ball, and they drank champagne, and I was in there. Suddenly, I'm inside. I'm going bing, bing.
Suddenly,
going, bang,
riser,
bang, bang, bang. You know, riser all the way. And there I was. It was
conception date. I like that.
So, and that for me is my roar, my guttural roar against abortion. I hate abortion because it's the most sophisticated medical science in the world acting against the weakest human being in the world, a tiny baby in a womb. You know, we don't. It's an unequal battle. It shouldn't happen that way. So anyway, that's my age.
Yeah.
Dealt with. But this here, you see, this book, I love it, and My faith is a very, very simple kind. I'm not a Catholic.
Are you not?
I'm not a Protestant.
Right.
I'm neither. I hate religion.
I like that.
Religion for me is no more important than the golf club. But I can't be a member of any club. Golf club, nothing else. And religion is a club. That's not to say that religion is not important for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's not my way. It's somebody else's way, maybe.
It's in your own belief.
I believe.
I think it,
the simple message of the Taizé community in the south of France. Ubi caritas et amor, Deus ibi est. Where charity and love are, there is God. If you're acting as the hands of God in a troubled world, you can take all the other garbage of dogma and everything else and throw it away. Do you know what happened in the cathedral on Good Friday?
No.
It's an amazing state. This is religion for you. This is the silly dogma of religion.
Right.
Silly. 2 little girls, that size, that size. This little girl is 6, this little girl is 5.
Right.
With their father, they're at the back of the chapel and they're lighting candles to Jesus, to baby Jesus. Suddenly, a caretaker person from the cathedral descends on them like a demented gargoyle.
Right.
And shouts, no candles, it's Good Friday, you can't have candles. Those 2 children, for I know the 2 children, spent that Friday night crying about the man who blew out Jesus' candles. That's religion for you.
That's a biggest load of crap.
Yeah.
No harm to whoever done that. Like.
But I mean, it's just nonsense.
Unbelievable. It is nonsense.
So this here is Mother Teresa, the sort of thing. She's a wonderful woman. This is what she's going to become a saint. She said, if I ever become a saint, I surely will be one of darkness. I will continually be absent from heaven to light the light of those in darkness on earth. That's
wow.
lovely.
That is lovely.
I like it.
Yeah.
Good woman, I like her. I like her style.
She's had an effect on you.
Oh, totally. It's 50 years ago. She, in Calcutta, was operating on that side of the street. Major Dudley Gardner of the Salvation Army was operating on that. I funded Oxfam. I worked with Oxfam at the time. We funded Teresa and Dudley, 2 of them together. So I've known about it in that.
Wow.
Ever in that time. You know.
It's amazing. She was an amazing character. Like,
Absolutely.
And she is going to be made a saint, isn't she?
Oh, she is. Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
So you better talk nicely to me, baby.
You better talk nicely to this kiddo.
I know this woman.
She was on the phone to you.
She was so seemed.